Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. It's now about 9 minutes before the hour of 7 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us or, of course, staying with us. Now, at the 44th regular meeting of the Conference of the Heads of Government of the CARICOM community held in February this year, it was agreed that the government of TNT would host a special symposium to consider crime as a public health concern in April 2023. Now, the regional symposium themed Violence as a Public Health Issue, the Crime Challenge, will be held at the Hyatt Regency. And of course, joining us this morning to talk more about it, we have the Program Manager of Crime and Security, Mr. Sherwin Toyne-Stephenson. Sherwin, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Now.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here, and I also want to bring greetings on behalf of the Secretary General, who's very invested in this process.
Of course, of course. I mean, this seems like a very, very interesting symposium that's going to take place. You would know, it's no secret that crime is a major challenge, not just for us here in TNT, but also across the region. So tell us about the symposium that's going to be taking place this month.
Okay, so the symposium takes place next week, Monday and Tuesday, actually. And it is going to be bringing together experts, practitioners. Of course, our heads of governments are going to be there presenting. We would also be asking member states to, when they bring their delegations, to have included in the delegation a cross-section of the different sectors that are affected by crime and security. We know it's not just national security, but we have a lot of interesting things and concerning things happening across our education sectors as well as our health sectors. So we're coming together to examine the causes, some of those determinants of crime, and to look at how we can prioritize the solution, and also look at how we can leverage our advantages within each one of the sectors to be able to become a holistic force that would mitigate those challenges and also result in our citizens being able to have a better quality of life, citizen security, to be able to be free to engage in economic activity that redounds well to the economic development of our separate island states and continental states.
Yeah, I love the focus on the citizens as well, because I'm wondering who can attend this. Is it only other heads of government, other heads of state, or is it for also open to the public maybe to view as well?
Okay, well, given the venue, there is a limited amount of seating, but the intent is to be able to accommodate persons across the region who would want to join in. So there are several satellite centers that have been created, where citizens would soon get information as to how to log on from where they are, to be able to engage and to be able to benefit from some of the instances that is happening on the symposium itself.
Yeah. And in terms of getting that information when the symposium is done, is there any way for an average citizen to find out exactly some of the trends or some of the key factors coming out of this symposium?
Certainly. At the end of the symposium, they will be presenting a statement. And what we normally do, we delineate those priority issues that were highlighted. We've also developed a microsite that is going to be launched later on today. So I don't have the exact name of it yet, but it's going to be launched later on today. And citizens can actually log into the website, look at a lot of the background information that caused the symposium to be developed and to be created in the way that it is right now, and to be able to engage and look at some of the facts and figures we have generated there for crime and within the region.
Yeah. In terms of the topics to be discussed, are we going to see a general overview, or are we going to also maybe see, white and blue collar crime, things like cybersecurity, that sort of thing?
Okay, well, we're running the remit of all those sectors. The focus is on the social, economic, and judicial aspects of crime, the results of crime within the region. But generated under those broader thematic areas are those issues that you have just described. We just wanted to signal as well that one of the major concerns for the heads of states and the region has to do with the availability of firearms, which, when you look at the statistics, are used extensively in a lot of homicide and a lot of violent crime. So in addition to just looking at the social determinants of crime, we will be making, those links between the availability of weapons and setting a plan in motion to be able to treat with that, so that we'll be able to get a lot more of those weapons off the streets and have them categorized.
Yeah. I like that that topic is going to be discussed because I know one of the things that we face here locally, especially, is the prevalence of the illegal firearms on the streets and the number of them that are being used in crime and violence. So I know it's going to be an interesting topic that they're going to have. In terms of getting more information about the event, though, is there any websites or social media handles we can go to?
Okay, so until the website is launched later on today, the lead ministry within Trinidad and Tobago is the Ministry of Social Development and Family Affairs.
Yes.
So if you log on to their website, persons would be able to get a link to the microsite later on today, as well as CARICOM.org.
Yeah.
So once the microsite is launched, that is going to be as a dedicated page surrounding the conference, and is going to be continuing for a few months after the conference, because we anticipate post-conference, once commitments have been made and once we have developed the regional priorities, looking at some of the national priorities as well, there's a lot more work to be done once we've actually come together and started working together more effectively as a group.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned as well in the symposium is that you're also going to be looking at the social issues that drive crime and violence. Was there any sort
Yes.
of reason for looking at the social as opposed to, let's say, policing initiatives?
Okay, well, traditionally, and when you go historically, when we've put things in place to deal with crime, we have looked at the criminal model, looking at responding to crime. Because we were looking at those social determinants, now we're actually looking at the three areas: the primary, secondary, and tertiary aspects of crime and crime prevention. And primary will link down to as early as some of the actions that we need to take from our young persons who may be exposed or who would have come from a violent environment, either within the home or outside in the community, and be able to begin to look at how crime affects them, all the way through secondary schools into persons who have become in conflict with the law but not necessarily hardened criminals as yet, and how we be able to rehabilitate these persons without them having to lose any kind of their own human development thrust.
Yeah.
So the social is very important, because this is what the response to the criminal situation, this is where it is felt most in terms of the victimization and those persons who have been perpetrating the crimes. If we do not treat with the social aspect, then we are always going to be responding. So this is an effort to be able to be proactive and to be able to treat with those symptoms even when they arise, and before our persons who eventually find themselves in conflict with the law begin to take what we consider to be risk-taking behavior.
Yeah. And as the saying goes, of course, Sherwin, prevention is better than cure, right? So we might as well deal with the social issue first.
Yes.
In terms of speakers, who can we see at this symposium next week, Monday and Tuesday?
Well, certainly the heads of government are very concerned. So the heads are going to actually be speaking at this conference, and they're going to be identifying or help us identify some of the focal areas, because they're the ones that, they're the ones that made this happen. We're also going to have key moderators. We have Dr. Wendell Wallace from the University of the West Indies, located at the St. Augustine campus, who has done quite a bit of work along with gangs. So he's going to be one of our speakers. Again, from Trinidad, we have Dr. Randy C. Prasad, also from UWI. We've got Professor Anthony Harriott, a notable researcher on crime and gangs, and a lot of other. We have Dr. Corinne Bailey as well, who's done quite a bit of work on crime and looking at some of the social aspects and some of those economic falls out with crime itself. So quite a lot of notable speakers from within the region, as well as within Trinidad and Tobago, and of course, the heads of government themselves are going to be engaging with the members of the symposium.
Yeah. And Sherwin, finally, just remind us when it's taking place, where it's taking place, and where we can go to if we need more information.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your last statement. I don't know if there was
Sherwin, can you hear me? Hear me clearly now?
I'm hearing you now, yes.
Nice. I was just wanting, as we wrap, just to remind everyone where it's taking place, the symposium, when it's taking place, and how we can get more information.
Okay, so the symposium is going to be taking place next week, Monday and Tuesday, the 17th of 18th at the Hyatt. And you can get more information from those websites that I've described, Ministry of Social Development and Family Affairs in Trinidad and Tobago, and CARICOM.org, as well as the microsite that is going to be launched later today. Those will be coming out in ads in all the social media platforms, so citizens would have a chance to be able to get even more information and to log on where they are, and those persons that are invited would be able to sit and engage in a comfortable space.
Nice. Well, Sherwin, let me thank you so much for joining us. All the best with this symposium next week, Monday and Tuesday. And I'm looking forward to the report that's generated from that, because I know crime and violence is a very real issue here in TNT. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me and giving me the opportunity to highlight the work of the community when it comes to responding to what has now become a public health issue, given the numbers that are affected today on your program. Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Sherwin. Have a good day.
Yes.
And that, of course, was the program manager for the Crime and Security Division, Sherwin Toyne-Stephenson, just sharing about a very important crime and violence symposium that's taking place next week, Monday and Tuesday at the Hyatt. You're on the Now Morning Show, but stay with us because up next we have birthdays. Stay with us.
I wanna write my story.